thank you for bringing all those wonderful sticks, Mr. Davis. We are live over on Facebook. I would like to, first of all, say hello to you all and thank you so much for tuning in. It's another highly exciting Light 'em Up special feature tonight, and I'm truly grateful that we get to host and welcome one of the all-time legends of the cigar industry, a true gentleman and an icon in the cigar industry over in the UK, and of course well known all around the globe. Mr. Laurence Davis, thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for being part of the Light 'em Up Lounge.
So there we've got a really, really special box of the Montecristo Leyendas. It's the new line, which is Montecristo's sort of Bahiki line. Like Cohiba came out with a Bahiki. This is the biggest in the line, so I thought I'd bring that one up. And it's with a triple band, so it has a little band on the end. So we're going to start off smoking in smallest to largest order. So I thought we'd start with a little Raz. I'm not sure if any of you know anything about the Ramoloni Specially Selected, but it is a really, really, really super smoke.
So, Mr. Davis, let me ask you this at the very beginning. Whilst you're sort of taking the cigars out of the boxes and light them up, give us a little intro on how you actually started with cigars. What was it that truly ignited your passion and your love for handmade premium cigars in the first place?
So I was never a smoker. My grandfather said to me, I'm 59 now, and he said to me when I was 16, he said, if you don't smoke, I'll give you £1,000 if you don't smoke to your 21st birthday. And on your 21st birthday, I will give you one of these, a Montecristo No. 2. So on my 21st birthday, I sat with him and we lit up a Montecristo No. 2 together. And I was hooked from that moment onwards. And then I used to go to this shop called Sautter in Mount Street. And I went in there for 15 years, every single day that I was in the UK. And 2 out of days of the week, I bought a box of cigars. Left 1 box there and took 1 box. And suddenly, after a while, I had 200 boxes of cigars in Sauter's. And I said to Desmond, who owned the shop at the time, after I'd been a client there for 15 years, Desmond, if you ever sell, I have to be the guy who buys your store. And he said, well, we'll keep in touch on that conversation. So after 10 years of me phoning him every single day, and I mean every single day, including Saturdays, I phoned him one day and he said, Laurence, it's timely that you called because I've just come back from my accountant and I'm ready to sell. So I said, okay, I'll be there in half an hour. I ran down and I agreed a price with him. It was 11:30. I said, I'll see you back here at 3. I went, got a banker's draft, came back in and handed it to him. And I bought the shop that day. And that was nearly 14 years ago. And the day I bought the shop, I said to him, do I get everything? He said, you get everything. So I said, everything. He said, everything. And he said, and dear boy, because he used to speak with a bit of a stutter, and he said, dear boy, every single thing. And I opened the cupboards up and I found these amazing vintage cigars. Loads and loads of incredible vintage cigars. 1950, 1960, 1970, 1980. We're in 2006, you know, and a whole compendium of modern cigars from the 90s and 2000s, right? But all these old vintage cigars, and I was just knocked sideways by it. And he said, and here's all the figures I told you about. And I didn't actually realize that he meant the cash in the bank account as well. So, you know, Nick Cameron's going to write my book for me one day about Saughters. And I bought the whole thing for £1 million. Oh,
wow.
I opened the bank statement because he never told me how much cash there was. And there was £762,500 in the bank account. I know. And there was £500,000 worth of cigars at cost. And there was a lease that was worth at least 2 million. And an array of customer lists that was worth fortunes. And there was loads and loads and loads of accessories, DuPont and this, that, and the other that we never even valued. And I've been a property developer all my life, and it was the best deal I've ever done. All right. And what really excited me about it was that I found a way to actually pay for my smoking habit. You know, because I'm probably more than 4 cigars a day. All right. There's people on the line who know that I'm quite a bit more than 4 cigars a day. And here I had, you know, I had 400 boxes of cigars in there as well. I had 200 boxes of Epicure 2s, which I still have there. All right, about 87 boxes left, and about 90 boxes of Series D number 4s. And I started suddenly, about a week into owning it, this lady came in to see me and said, "Hello, my name's Lady Rose, and I'm come here to sell you my husband's cigars." So I said, "Lady Rose, I'm really pleased." She said she's been a client of Desmond's for many years, and he wanted you to have them, and he wants you to give me £1,000 for them. So I said, "Well, if that's what your husband wanted," his name was Lord Londonderry. He was a lord from Northern Ireland, and they gave me this cabinet of Romeo and Juliet cigars from 1937. There was 300 cigars in there, and there was a note in there that was just so touching. The note said, "Dear Dad, I've stolen one of your bundles. You weren't home, and I'm off to the war. Hopefully I'll be back to smoke some more." And it was just unbelievable poetry. And about 4 months later, I bought a box of 500 H. Upmann cigars, which I still have. And in fact, the great Simon Chase did a video on it. It's on my YouTube. I bought a box of 500 cigars by H. Upmann from 1882. And they're all in perfect smoking condition. And we sell them now for £5,000 each, and we've sold quite a few, and they're just amazing. So that was my sort of how I got into the industry and how I got into Saughters. And we're now in Shanghai, we're in the Maldives, we're in Holland, we're in Knightsbridge, we're opening soon in Delhi, and we've got Mount Street. And it's just a fabulous, fabulous business to be in. We've just started with Holland, which is our New World cigars, and the lovely Scott Vines, who's somewhere here, and and Nick are starting to teach me all about New World cigars. And hopefully very soon, we'll have an online cigar store just dealing with New World cigars. We're building it at the moment. So hopefully we'll have some great cigars from Ricardo's home country, Nicaragua. I'm being taught by your two colleagues all about it. I've been to date a Cuban man, but I'm ready to learn and become more open. I mean, I've had a lot of non-Cuban cigars in America, and I've not found it to have the same storyline as the Cuban cigar. So the Cuban cigar has 3 dimensions to it, which I haven't found elsewhere. And that is a beginning, a middle, and an end. And that's something that I'm looking forward to learning about, the nuances of smoking the New World cigars. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking and let somebody else talk for a second, just whilst I light up.
Mr. Davis, that's why we ask you to please join us, because it's delightful to hear these amazing stories, and what a journey this has been for you and Sautter, obviously. Now, Mr. Sautter had built a business that was known by cigar aficionados near and far, and he seemed to have that particular knack for finding rare and old Cuban cigars. When you got into the business and when you took over, how did you get into that pace and into that community, and how did you go about continuing that footprint of Sautter, that fingerprint?
Well, the first thing I did, which he never did, was I took an advert in the Daily Telegraph saying old Cuban Havana cigars are wanted, we'll buy them here. And I've probably got 500 boxes of vintage cigars in stock. I've got in Switzerland alone, so I'm probably one of the prime buyers in Switzerland of any estates that come up. So anybody who dies, they come to me, sometimes through Valkyrie Gerard, or come to me direct, and I buy the cigars. And I always give them fair value. In fact, when Lady Rose left, I gave her a check for another £5,000. On top of the 1,000 that she said she'd sell them, or her husband agreed to sell them to Desmond for, because I said they're worth a lot more money than you've got here. So I've always been fair on price. And I then went to Cuba, and no one wanted old cigars in Cuba. I went into the shops and I bought everything they had. And I incentivized all the managers to find stuff. And then I went to Spain, and I got a friend of mine who's got a shop in Barcelona. And he said, let's go to the factory, let's go to the warehouse. So we flew to Madrid. We had a rummage in the warehouse. And when we talk about a warehouse, I mean, it is like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I got in there, and when you look up and you see this wall, it's like going to Wembley Stadium with 100,000 seats. There's 100,000 boxes, 25,000 boxes of Monty 4s, 20,000 boxes of Monty 3s, right? 100 boxes of Monty A's. I said, I'll have all the Monty A's, thank you. I'll have all of these, I'll have all of these. And I was like a kid in a candy store. I just bought cigars. I remember buying, I don't know if any of you remember the Sancho Panza, same size as the Montecristo A. I bought 58 boxes there for €100 a box, 10 cigars in each box. All right. And the guy said, as I was leaving, he said, oh, I found another case of master case of them. There's another 44 boxes on that. Would you take them for €50 a case? So we just cleared them out. And I said, yeah, sure. Right. And we just, it was just, and, I've been in this business now 15 years. And I can honestly say it's the nicest business I've ever been in. Because I can say that every single one of my competitors, I would be happy to go out for dinner with. I'd be happy to drive all the way to their shop and lend them a box if they'd run out. And likewise, just the other day, I ran out a box of Trinidad Topes. And I phoned up Jose at TomTom. I said, Jose, you wouldn't have a spare box because one of my clients needs it. And it was on a Friday and the hunters aren't going to deliver till Monday. And he said, sure, I'll be over in half an hour. And that's an industry that's full of people that have really got good feelings for each other. And I think you can attest to that, Nick. Do you not think that everybody is just helpful? You know, for instance, I don't sell Davidoff in my shop at all, but I get a lot of customers that come in for Davidoff, and I just send them around to Edward and Eddie. All right. And if it was any other business, my wife's in the fashion business. All right. No one would send anyone to a competitor. All right. If someone comes in for a cigar, my cigars are very moist. All right. I keep them at 74, 75 to 84. All right. And someone says, well, I like dry cigars. I would say, go down to Stuart Fox's house, Fox's in St James's, and go there because they have their cigars dry. And it's an industry. There's enough very good clients to go around, and we don't need to steal from each other. And it's lovely. And you go to the Havana Festival and you all party together. I have a party there on the Saturday, and all the retailers are there. In fact, one year I had a very famous event there that I used to be a lot bigger. I was 11 stone heavier. All right. But I've always been good at sport. So there was Rob Fox decided to have a cigar rollers versus the English or Great British retailers baseball match. And we're playing at this stadium. And I go out into the middle, hit the ball, first ball, a long, long way. I think there's nothing to, I've never played baseball before, but I played cricket. I thought there's not much to it. So the second one comes in, and obviously the first one was a get me going ball, you know, from one of the rolls. Second one comes a bit quick, and I nick the edge of it, and it lies down. I go to run, and I haven't got my trainers on. I've got a pair of Todds on. I don't know if you know Todds. I've got little studs, rubber studs at the bottom. I start running, and the grass is quite thick, and the shoes get caught in the grass. And I start running, but the shoes don't run with me, and I go toppling over and crack 4 ribs, right? And it goes viral in Cuba. It goes absolutely viral on Facebook, on whatever it was there. Everybody's absolutely in hysterics. I'm crying with laughter and in a lot of pain. And it's just an absolutely phenomenal, funny situation, right? But they were all great to me. And it's that sort of camaraderie, right? You know, we were all there at Simon Chase's memorial dinner at El Caribe, which is a very famous restaurant in Cuba. It serves chicken and rice and beans, and that's about the menu, but it's just fantastic. And everybody was there, Simon, and we're all sitting together, everyone from Edward to Rob, Stuart Fox, to myself, to AJ, so all of the guys really in the UK industry, and we just had a good time together.
Now, besides the people who work in the industry, I mean, you also get people from all walks of life. And in London, I mean, of course, there's a very special clientele. You've got people from all over the world, be it Asia, the Middle East, Europe, US. But what would you say with the people who appreciate and enjoy cigars, not probably working in the industry, but just enjoying them? What is that?
It's the same, Reinhard. It's the same wherever you go. Everybody who's involved with cigars is amazingly friendly. Last year I'm on the beach in just outside Lisbon in a place called Comporta, and a guy called Carlos comes over to me. I've watched your YouTube videos. I'd like to introduce myself. We sat there for 4.5 hours talking about cigars. I had my humidor with me, and we cracked it through my humidor. We just smoked, and he said, "Look, I've got some of these Portuguese editions." I go to the Grand Havana room in New York, and I meet people there, and that we swap cigars, and no one has anything but fun. All right, every single person I've met, there's not one person. All right, the importers all around the world are lovely people. I mean, all right, the people I've met with Scott and Nick from Nicaragua. I met the ambassador there in not Downton Abbey, at Highgrove House, Highclere House. They're just a kindred spirit. They're just everybody. It's the most unbelievable situation that you can blend in with people wherever you are. If you light up a friend, right? Wherever you are in the world. You know, I've got 5 chairs in my shop, and one day I had probably one of the greatest comedians of all time, Billy Connolly, in. I had the US ambassador at the time to Cuba. I had to the UK. I had the guitarist, the lead guitarist from Aerosmith in. I had the most famous American film producer and director that you could ever imagine. All right, Stephen. All right. And we also had in there an actor called who did Mr. Selfridge, and he did Entourage. All right. And we all sat down and we're talking, all right, as if we've known each other for 20 years. And these guys had only met each other that day. And everybody's talking. And then one of them goes, Steven Spielberg, all right? And Steven Spielberg left, and then this guy came in who was, a guy comes to my shop who was a broker in a shipping agency. His name's Ali, and he's talking to Tyler, the lead, and they're best mates. And they're talking like they've known each other 20 years. And that is what cigars brings together. It brings camaraderie, friendship, and, you know, I'm friendly with Kelly. She came into the shop one day. We've been friends ever since. She's friends with Magley, all right? We talk to each other, we text each other, we're bound by the honor of the leaf. And it's an incredible situation. And it's the only thing, because it's not, you know, people who meet each other in a bar, once they leave the bar, they don't keep in contact. People in this industry keep in contact, right? And hopefully all of you out there, one day we'll meet either in London or in Nicaragua, Ricardo. One day I'm going to come, all right, with Tor Hammond and Scott. All right, because I'm desperate to come and see this. And a little bit of advertising for everybody. This is a very special lighter. It's a Tour Jet, available from Scott Vines. It's the only thing with a single flame that works when you're playing golf and it's windy.
Mr. Davis, such a wonderful statement of yours, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, I was working not too far from your shop in London. I was working at the American Bar at the Savoy back in the days, and I mean, we had similar experiences with people from all walks of life and people coming to that one particular bar because they were curious to go there for probably a lifetime. But I have never experienced anything like in the cigar world with that brotherhood and sisterhood as you described it, and people getting together and sharing and embracing wonderful moments and cigar experiences. anywhere else. So I couldn't agree more.
So I've had 2 million views on my YouTube channel. And one day I'm in the Grand Havana room in New York, and I'm sitting having lunch, right? And let's put this into perspective. I'm having lunch with an Italian, right? I'm Jewish, an Italian, Reverend Al Sharpston, right? And these 3 guys come up and say, can we take a picture? The Italian gentleman I'm with is none other than the ex-mayor of New York, Rudy Giuliani. This is in 2017. So he sticks his chest out because he thinks they want a picture with him. The guy said, Mr. Giuliani, can you do me a great favor? And he's, yes, he said, we'd just like to have a picture with Laurence. Can you take it for us with my phone? And these 3 guys ran around me and they take this photograph, all right? Because these guys listen to YouTube and obviously like one of my YouTubes, all right? And they, you know, and afterwards I said, oh, come on, let's have a picture with us all together. I get the waiter over and that with Rudy Giuliani and all right. Now, if he was out in the street in New York, he wouldn't have had a picture with anybody, all right? But you know what, you're in a cigar environment. In the Grand room in LA, which I go to a lot, because one of my closest pals is a member there, one of the founder members, a guy called Chris Consgouris, and I'm right. And I've had cigars in there with Paul Weller, with Clint Eastwood, right? And he talks and smokes with anyone in there, right? And these are guys that you couldn't possibly see in the street and have a cigar, right? Or you wouldn't think of being able to, but when they're smoking, they're just Clint and they're just Paul, and it changes you. You come out of being a celebrity, and you know, when you're in that environment, and it takes them down to being just having a good time with a couple of mates, and it's a lovely, lovely part of life.
Let me bring in a couple of people because there's questions piling up, and I certainly have some of them as well. But let's bring Ian for a moment. Start with some of our questions.
Hi, Laurence, and thank you very much indeed for your opening remarks. And when we can go back on holiday, you must tell us where you're going, and I'm sure there'll be people coming to the beach to join you. I've been to Nicaragua now 3 times to the Cigar Festival, and I would really encourage you to come along if you can. Again, I found the cigar people are all very friendly. It's a wonderful industry. They all support each other, and they produce some really great cigars. And I think as you find more of them, you'll find ones with a beginning, a middle, and an end, and a lot of complexity and real interest. So please come if you can to Nicaragua.
When is it?
It's normally the 3rd week in January.
Well, that's sort of perfect because I could go there. Someone can host me in Miami on the way back, and I can work from there for a couple of weeks, and then go out to Cuba for the Cuban festival. I did this year. I was very lucky this year. My son won a golf tournament at Wentworth, and it was 5 days at the Rosewood in just outside Cancun. In Montecristo, which is absolutely one of the nicest places I've ever been. And I went there, had 5 days in the Rosewood. I then had a few days in Miami at the W. I don't know if anyone knows the W South Beach, but the general manager there is a fabulous guy called Rick Raguno, and he hosted me there for a few days. We were just by the pool smoking cigars. I went to Cuba. So now I've got a real reason to be in that neck of the woods for a little bit longer. And I'm gonna go. Scott, do you do the cigar?
And I would encourage you to have a few days.
Yeah, I'll definitely have a few days and tour Nicaragua, and maybe if I can persuade my guy, my team to come with me. We could do some videos out there, Nick, and bring some great photographers out and do some really big marketing there. especially, and I'm sure Holland and Holland would back us in some sort of venture to do something on the video from Nicaragua.
Thank you.
Scott, can we organise that?
Laurence, as you know, we do the annual tour, and we're at the embryonic stage of just trying to figure out when we go next. The answer is yes, I think.
Is your tour at the same time?
No, I tend to avoid the festival because what we get is a dedicated one-to-one, and we stay in the farm estate of Drew Estate and things like that, which is exceptional. So rather than go with the masses, I take a small group of say 12, and we basically get a bit of training, a bit of relaxation, a bit of culture, a bit of touring, and we spend about five to 6 days there. But we do it dedicated with 2 or 3 different companies rather than all the singing, dancing stuff of the festival. I would like to go to the festival to experience it, but from a training and culture perspective, I prefer to take our own tour, because then we can tailor it. We take people to charity, the schools. Nick's been on the trip. It's we try to mix it up, and but make it very special for the people that come on it, so they remember it. Yeah,
well, I've been to Cuba 18 times in the last 10 years, and a few times before then, but 18 times in the last 10 years. So there's no reason why I couldn't do a couple of trips to Nicaragua, and let's see if we could take our own group from Holland and Holland.
Okay.
And maybe bring some people in from the United States who'd like to join us, and we could really create some sort of special event out of it.
Yep, that sounds like a plan. No, let's talk about that, sir, but I'm sure that can happen.
That sounds great. If I could just interject, I'd say it's not too bad with the masses. I mean, Charlie, who's on the call here, has also been, and I know he really enjoys it. And you get to meet the cigar people, and also the 150, 200 cigar lovers are there. It's a great festival, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think what we tried to do, Ian, is go at a different time of the year.
No,
so
I'm just saying.
So we first of all treat it more of a training exercise, because we effectively take UK retailers, so it's the education is the main reason for taking them, and then the cultural aspects and stuff. It's just fantastic. But you're right, I'd like to go to the festival to experience it. I've been to the Dominican one a couple of times, but not the Nicaraguan. So it's on my bucket list.
Dominica, Nicaragua, and maybe I can even get you to Cuba, Scott.
We've got to stop off at Mexico first, Laurence.
The thing is, Mexico to Cuba is an hour flight.
You can swim there. Yeah, absolutely.
And what's great about it is that you actually come in and you haven't had that. The beauty of going to Cuba via Mexico is that you haven't just come off a 10-hour flight, right? Which is about a 14-hour journey by the time you left home, got to Gatwick, mucked around at Gatwick. So we can fly into Miami, relax for 2 days, go to Nicaragua, go to, I haven't been to Nicaragua, I haven't been to the Dominican Republic. We could go and see those, and then be a few days out of the office. We'd have to put up with not having that, but we could see it all and try a few things and make some new friends.
At this moment in time, Laurence, with everything that's been going on, we need something to look forward to. So there's a challenge, my friend.
I really look forward to the day I can go back into a restaurant.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you a lovely little story today. Is that we're looking to do something special with the Connaught Hotel, on vintage cigars in a vintage room, and they popped in to say hello that they're back getting ready for the shop. And I was so bad. I was so naughty, because in losing the 11.5 stone, I had been absolutely the best behaved human being in terms of food. But they brought in these little cupcakes. The sous chef there, who's the guy under Jean-Georges Vong, and he brought in this cupcake, and I said, look, I can't eat it without sugar. And one of the guys, they brought them in for all the staff in all the shops in the whole of Mount Street. And one of the guys tasted it, and you saw his eyes. He had this look on his face as if he'd gone to heaven and come back. So I said, I don't care about it. And I just tucked myself into this unbelievable cupcake. And I just said to him, you don't realize how looking forward I am to not getting something that I've just bought in a supermarket or made at home that somebody actually gives me, you know, because there isn't anything open. You know, we've been open every day doing parcels, and I've been opening up and running to my other businesses, and I've been running around like 18-hour days, but I've not had a drink or a coffee or anything out, and that's something that I really miss. And it's okay if you guys in Nicaragua, you haven't been locked down because you haven't had the same problems, and in America it's not as bad in a lot of places in terms of the way they've locked us down. But in the UK, it's been absolutely and completely nothing is open. So there is something to look forward to.
Definitely. I would love to bring in Ricardo. It's always so great to see him on the show, and pleasure and honor to have you.
Thank you very much, Reinhard. Always a pleasure to be here. Always to witness the great work you're doing. Congratulations on getting a weekly feature with Cigar Journal now every Wednesday. So well done, my friend. I look forward to that as well. But yes, I couldn't miss this opportunity to come and at least virtually greet a legend of the cigar world, Mr. Davis, Laurence. Pleasure to see you here. I think when we met, yes, it was a beautiful day in Highclere Castle in the gardens, quite sunny, unlike today in London, where it's raining. But I think that everyone in the cigar world that passes through London, it's almost sort of a pilgrimage to go to your stores, to learn about you. And it's true. I think the relation between Cuba and Nicaragua is very special. Myself, yes, I'm biased towards New World Cigar, but today, you see, smoking a Cohiba, given to me by my colleagues at the Cuban embassy in Moscow back in November last year. But I think you would find that relationship between Cuba and Nicaragua is very, very special. From the cigar.
Oh, if they've got any Bahikis, we love them.
And I'm really, I mean, it's music to my ears to learn that your interest for the Nicaraguan and the New World cigars, it's growing. And how humble you are in saying that you want to learn from it, but it's true, we all learn every single day. But that appetite to learn, and in the hands of good friends like Scott, Nick, and everyone, you're in great hands. And I'm looking forward to this journey of you learning more about our cigars. Can't wait to go to your stores and enjoy a Cohiba and then a Nicaraguan cigar, hopefully soon. So it's fantastic. And I want to put it out there, whenever you want to go to Nicaragua, I'll be more than happy to support that as well. So from our point of view, it would be an honor to have you there. So I'm sure between good friends in the sector, the private sector there, the producers, Scott here, and myself and our embassy will be delighted to find a way to make that happen and support that, be it in February, January for the show, for the Puro Sabor, pure flavor, the name of the festival, which is a great opportunity. And then you come back again with Scott in the second time. So you get it twice as much. You know, the country that I visited the most outside of my own is Cuba. So it's a country that I love just as much as you. And I'm confident if you love Cuba, you're gonna love Nicaragua.
One of the things I love about Cuba that I can't say about Nicaragua because I've never been is the people. The people are unbelievable people. you know, I'm just as friendly with my taxi driver who drives me around, Ruben, who's driven me around for the last 5 years. And I'm very happy wherever we are, whenever we are, Ruben comes and joins us for dinner. All right. So whether we're having a dinner at Santi, the wonderful shack by the side of the river, or we're at Rio Mar, or whoever we're with, and it's that feeling out there that you know, the equality of life out there. I find that absolutely refreshing. I'm looking forward to sharing that in Nicaragua. The one thing I want to learn about the New World is, and one of the things that I find really exciting, is their ability to experiment, which they're not willing to do in, I just got up before. Someone sent me this cigar. It's called the Lunatic.
Wow.
I've never tried it. I'm going to try it, but it's a 70 ring gauge cigar. And they're willing to have a go in Nicaragua and in Dominica, that I don't think that they're willing to have a go in Cuba, because it's so stringently run by Habanos. And you know, the sizes are what the sizes are. You'll get them when you're given them, and if you behave today, you can buy the cigars office. And I understand it's difficult. I mean, I bring in a lot of my own cigars from there, and you know, and there's some great guys out there that are rolling Cuban rollers like Hiroshi Rabina, who produces cigars outside of Cuba, and he's had some resistance out there. They won't let him go to the festival dinner. All right. In fact, the only way he gets to go to the festival dinner is to sit on my table with me. All right. And he comes as somebody else, but they can't throw him out because they don't want to upset me. All right. And Nick will tell you, because Nick was at the dinner with me 2 years ago, and Hiroshi sits with me, and everyone knows him there, but they won't let him come. There is a slight thing with out there. But the people, when you go out and you stand on his farm and you go and have lunch with him, and you sit down and you talk to all the guys in the fields, and you know, you talk to the guys who are rolling the cigars, you know, the beauty of the people is just fantastic. You know, he gets up at 5 every morning to put breakfast on for when his guys get in there at 6, and he cooks his 40 guys breakfast. And on the world stage, he's a superhero, the best roller in Cuba, all right, and the best grower in Cuba. Yet he's there looking after his people, and that's what I love about the tobacco industry. They're real people with real values.
Indeed, I think I just want to say that's precisely. I mean, the one country that I feel the most at home outside of Nicaragua, and it's precisely because of the people. That's Cuba. And I think that's what you would find. And that's what I identify myself as much. And I think that makes a cigar special. That makes most of our products quite special. Is that human touch, that kindness, that warmth that the people have. They give themselves more than any other people in how open and how much they give to foreigners, to strangers, and to whoever who goes there. But I'm really, really excited to hear that. I can't wait to see the growth in the Nicaraguan cigars and New World cigars in your industry. And definitely, I hope that you get a chance to experience. And when you go to Miami, do go to 8th Street around Flagler Street. I lived in Miami for almost 5 years. That's where you get the Nicaraguan fritanga and the Nicaraguan food. So go around the Florida International University, 8th Street, it's called Sweetwater. That's an introduction to Nicaraguan gastronomy and slang of Spanish, if at some point you want to warm up before you take your trip to Managua.
Definitely going to do that. I'm definitely going to, I've got to go to Miami soon. All right, soon when things are allowed. So maybe we'll get Scott to organise something, and maybe we'll get Nick out there, because I would love to see the stall that Nick's backing, and I want to give it some serious backing myself, because it's a great story, and you know, I'd love to help.
Thank you, Laurence.
and we'll join you all there. We'll bring a golden couch where we can sit on, and then we'll do a light 'em up live feature from Nicaragua, Cuba, Miami, and probably Mexico. That would
So
be
where are you based, Reinhard, now?
I'm in Vienna, Austria.
Right. I can come and smoke in Vienna. As soon as they let the Brits in, they're not too keen on the Brits at the moment because of some of the virus around here. But as soon as they let us in, I haven't been to Vienna for 20 years. I'd love to come.
It will be a pleasure to welcome you and enjoy a cigar with you. And rest assured, next time I get to London, which I consider my second home still to this day, we will have a cigar together. That's for sure.
I'd love you to come out and be my guest at Holland and Holland. We've got a fabulous facility there, and it'll be open. The chef's very special there. He's a friend of mine, and it's a lovely place.
Appreciate it.
So,
Mr. Davis, let me ask you this, because you mentioned social media before, and you mentioned the YouTube presence that you've built over the years. I was curious, you were on this at such an early stage of the whole social media and cigars being active and present on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. How important would you consider that side of the business now, even though Sautter has a very classy and classical and sort of traditional in the best sense approach? But how do you balance that with some of the new media channels and new forms of communicating and having that iconic shop and brick and mortar and storefront right in the middle of London?
Because there are a lot of people that can't get to London. There's a lot of people who want to meet, talk, and understand more about cigars. And, it's not always in their purview, wherever they are in the world, to just be able to get in and talk. And I've done a few sessions, maybe 30 or 40 sessions with people on a direct message basis, where they've said to me, I'd like to taste a cigar with you. I'd like to smoke with you. And I've sent them cigars, and we've had a FaceTime smoke. Before FaceTime was as easy, we used to do Skype smoking. And I got into it because a guy came in to see me, and he said one day, he said, look, I think you should do YouTube. And I said, look, I don't know how it's going to do for my business. I'll do it, but I don't want to spend a lot of money on something that won't give me a return. So the guy said, what if I do your first YouTube video free, and if you pick up any business from it, we'll carry it on. So I said, okay. So I did this YouTube video, about a part of the Series D #4, an old one. And a guy came in and spent £5,000 with me a week after it came out from Tokyo. And I was talking to the guy, I said, how did you get to know us? He said, I saw your YouTube video. And I realized that the greatest form of marketing is being able to actually sit with somebody and talk to them about what they like and what they don't like, and what you like and what you don't like. And, and I've had many rows on YouTube. Some people accuse me of destroying cigars because I like to chew the end. I'm not a very delicate smoker. I chew them. And I also speak the fluent language of cigar, which is speaking with when you've got a cigar in your mouth. And a lot of people have criticized me. How can you do that to this wonderful cigar? The beauty about cigars is that you smoke them how you like, when you like, and with whichever way you like, whether you're band on, whether you're band off, whether you're a V cut, whether you're a punch cut, whether you're a big cut, whether you're a nail cut, or some people, like Mr. Eastwood tends to bite his, right? And the beauty is that everyone enjoys it in their own manner and in their own way. And because of that, you just get to, the whole thing about cigars is there isn't the best cigar in the world, all right? There's the best cigar in your world. And whatever your world is, whether it's based on whether you like vintage, whether you like Cuban, whether you like Nicaraguan, whether you like King Edward's, it doesn't really matter, all right? one of my top customers, and I won't mention his name because he's a major heart surgeon in New York. But I said to him one day, he's in my store, and I said, Dr. K, tell me, why do you smoke cigars and you're a heart surgeon? He said, Laurence, I have to explain to you. He said, after 4 hours of an operation, having someone's chest open, having their heart in your hands, doing a transplant or a rebuild of your heart, and you come out of there, all right, and you're wired to the nth degree. You can go out, and some of my colleagues go out and they drink. Some of them go out and they take drugs. Some of them go out and drive their car back to Connecticut at 110 miles an hour on a windy road. He said, I sit down and my form of relaxation is lighting, in his case, a Siglo 6, all right? Sitting down and smoking that. He said, and after I've had the first third of that cigar, I'm back to being a normal human being. He said, it relaxes me. And the worst and most dangerous thing you can ever have in your life and your world is stress. It makes everything else that's dangerous for you pale into insignificance. And the beauty about tobacco smoking and in the cigar format is that it's not that unhealthy because we don't inhale it. And if we're sensible about it, it's the only thing that can, in my opinion, that reduces stress for me. And if you're a cigar lover, I think you'll all find the same thing, that it's just that great thing to relax you. And it's because you're smoking a cigar and you're relaxed that you can listen to a buffoon like me on a Zoom feed while smoking your cigar and feeling pretty relaxed when there's association football back on in the UK and there's a live match on now we're missing because we're having a much better time smoking cigar and talking to all you guys.
Absolutely. And there's many questions coming in from people like Peter over on Facebook. And he would like to ask you regarding the Laurence 58 made from that is available at Sautter Cigars. Could you give us a little background on that particular cigar?
Well, I've had some hand rolls made especially for me to my blend. I quite a pokey smoke. So I've got 58 ring gauges made by, I have about 18 different guys who roll for me, all different cigars. I have the Flying Pig, the Super Mario. I have the what I call the BHK 58. And I have those cigars in normal times. They're not so easy because there's no planes coming in from Cuba. But I have those cigars rolled because I like to have things that are a bit bigger. I find I like a larger ring gauge. I mean, I don't think I'm quite up to the lunatic, but I just put those together. I sit with the rollers. We have a great time saying, what have you never done? All right, and what would you like to do? And how can we get something that's got, and when we sit down, we choose how much Ligero to put in, how much Sake to put in, and we just mash it up and have a great time. In fact, one of my rollers said the other day, and this is no word of a lie, he was in his dining room having dinner, and someone hopped over the wall and nicked his electric stove. He said, I didn't call the police. He said, just in case they came in and saw the hand rolls that I rolled for you. All right, they were so big, they would have stolen them for themselves. He said, so I couldn't let them go. So I said, don't worry, I'll replace the electric stove. But it's just a question of they're special, and I create them. And I create them for some people. Come in and say, I'd like this, and I create a cigar for them. It's fun, and those cigars are fun. So can I ask a couple of questions? Aldo, what are you smoking?
Here I am. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Aldo.
Hi. Well, I'm smoking Nicaraguan cigar now. Well, I smoke quite always Nicaraguan cigar, as people probably already know, but I love cigars. it doesn't matter the country where they comes from. But in my heart, if I have the opportunity to choose, I always prefer the Nicaraguan taste because it gives me more emotion, more, how can I say, I feel them more straight in my heart. So in this moment, I'm smoking a Wanderlust of Romacraft.
Okay, well, we're gonna talk to Ricardo. I'm gonna get out there and I'm gonna try a whole host of Nicaraguan cigars. And I promise that if Reinhard brings me back onto the show, I'll know a lot more about Nicaraguan cigars than I do now. And Raid, what are you smoking? Raid, the lead master?
Sorry, I am not smoking anything, unfortunately, because I'm home and I just came back from my shop. But this afternoon, I smoked a beautiful Liga Privada No. 9 by Drew Estate, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Connecticut broadleaf is something that I truly enjoy. And that cigar is it's just sublime, really. There you go. Ian's got the box in his hands.
Okay.
He's smoking the same, in fact. What a great cigar. If you are to try something, my humble advice to a master like yourself is to definitely smoke that cigar. It's simply mouth-watering.
Okay, Scott, can you find me one? Okay, send me a box, Scott.
That's funny. That's funny.
Right, you also had a question. Please bring that up. It's great to see you, and thank you.
I had a couple. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Such a joy to be on these sessions always. Mr. Davis, let me start by saying it's an absolute honor. I just want to thank you to start with for saving and allowing me to use the word my ass or my life. Every time I'm in London with my wife shopping, I pass by your shop, I buy the cigar, sit, smoke the cigar, life goes by, everything's beautiful. Meanwhile, my phone is clinging every time she buys something, but still life is good and it passes through. So thank you for providing that while I'm in London. That's one thing.
I say to a lot of my customers, when they come into the store, I say, look Christian Louboutin's across the road.
Literally.
give your wife the credit card, go to Christian Louboutin and sit down and enjoy a cigar. Because whatever it costs, it's worth it.
In fact, I remember very, very clearly once I went into your shop and you were there and you're like, you look like you just got hit by a bus. You look really sad. I'm like, I've been shopping with my wife for the past 4 hours. You're like, oh, relax, here. Let's choose you a cigar and you'll be just fine. And sure enough, in a couple of hours, I was a new person. It's amazing to have an opportunity like this to learn from your experience. And I would humbly like to ask you a question, which is, I've only been in this industry, and I love it. I couldn't agree more with what you're saying, but I've only been in this industry now for about 2.5 years, and my shop has only been open for about 16 months. If you are to give me some advice, what would it be?
If you make your customers your friends, you have to immerse yourself into this business. And it's not something that you can just have. This is not a business for profit. Right? You don't go in this and say, right, well, if I do 12,000 sticks this month, I'm going to make X, Y, and Z. If you look at it from the other way around, if I can enjoy my time and what I'm doing, you will make money. Right? Because if you can give out that positive aura, people want to come and buy and they want to smoke with you. I'm not in it for the money. I'm doing, Nick will tell you, I'm doing this thing on Instagram at the moment where I'm setting up a big Zoom party, for everybody who's been in lockdown. And I'm doing this thing that's going to be called the Big Smoke, where I'm sending out, and we're going to do packages of cigars at cost. At cost. So we're starting off with Monty 4s at £10 each. You put a party in your garden together for £10 with a bottle of scotch thrown in free of charge, often shot. And you know what? Those people come back because they know that you're talking to them as a friend.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And the important thing is that if you make friends with your clients, all right, they become your clients, all right? And that's how you grow your business. It's all about being a community. It really works.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Can I just add one more question? And that's on the funny part of things. One of my favorite ashtrays that I still use till today, and I've had it for over 10 years, is a pink metal slippers that I bought from your shop.
The flip-flop.
The flip-flops. There you go. What's the story of those? I absolutely love them, and I probably have given away, because everybody that comes to my house is about to nick it on his way out, and I promise them. So every time I'm in London, I buy them one. So I've given away the green, the black, the pink. I've given away all the colors, but I've kept the fuchsia one for myself. What is the story of that?
Well, it's a funny story actually, because I'm round the pool in a hotel in Portugal, in a place called Estoril, and the pool is the Palacio, and the hotel is the Palacio, and the guy's got these stupidly small plastic ashtrays, all right, and they're just horrible for around the swimming pool, all right. And I'm talking to a guy next to me, and he pulls out his flip-flop and he starts knocking his ash and resting his cigar on the little groove of the flip-flop. And I said to him, you know, you just give me a great idea. So I phoned a friend of mine who makes metal work and said to him, look, can you do this for me in India? So he said, yeah. So I said, I want to make some. So I made 1,000, and then I've made 15,000. I've been through 25,000 flip-flops so far. And but the funny part of the story comes in, like, one day I get this guy in, all right, and he says, I'd like one of those in the window. So I said, sure. So I said, what color? So he said, I want the silver one. So I said, all right. So I get it, hand it to him, and said, that's very nice. And he throws it on the floor. All right. I'm from behind the counter, and I go and I peer over, and he's taking his shirt off and he's trying to put it on.
Oh my God.
And I said, what are you doing? He said, oh, can you give me the other one?
Oh.
I said, it's an ashtray, mate. He said, really, sir? I thought it was like a shoe. All right. And he said, so you've only got one? So I said, I've only got the right one, yeah. But we've sold them all around the world. They're incredible. They're great for around a swimming pool. You know, they look quite good. They're not too good when the wind's blowing, because the ash goes a bit. But what's a bit of ash? You know, it's good for the environment, ash anyway, so it's not bad. And the flip-flop's been a big thing for us.
And I love it because from the heat, it keeps on taking away the writing of the brand, the Sautter brand, and I keep on putting it back with my marker. I keep on drawing it back with my marker for it to stay there. But brilliant. Thank you so much. What an absolute honor.
We made them for other people. We made a load for W hotels and loads of people. So if you'd like the Leaf Masters made, I can organise that for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll definitely reach out on that one. Thank you, sir. Very kind.
We had an interesting follow-up question in regards to Rad's first question through Facebook. And the question was, Mr. Davis, how often do you get to greet new customers to Sautter Cigars in London?
Every day.
People who are fresh to the industry.
Every day we get somebody in who says, I'm a novice, I'd like to try something, and we sit them down and we talk them through it. And it's either Magali or myself or one of my other guys, and we sit down and we ask them what they've experienced before, and we start them off on what we think would be appropriate for their taste and what they drink. And you know, alcohol's got a lot to do with what you want to get out of a cigar. You know, if you're a white wine drinker, don't take a strong cigar, because the two of them aren't going to really mix. And it's a question of really finding what you like. All right. And if we haven't got it, all right, we'll tell you where to get it from.
That's an amazing point. And I'm also curious, because the one thing you're also very active on is doing seminars and training sessions for people to actually learn about cigars. Now, would you say that we in general, as the cigar industry and global family, need more educational platforms?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, this thing that's in my hand has had over 280 different things done to it, right, to come out as a hand-rolled cigar. And people don't realize that every one of the sticks, whether they're from Nicaragua, all right, whether they're from Dominica or whether they're from Cuba, all right, they've had a lot of people put a lot of time and a lot of effort into it. And they need to understand what's gone into it, because once you know, and once you know why it's this strength and why it's that type of cigar, you really get to appreciate what's happened. And if you go, as I took Nick out to Hiroshi Rabina and see them actually cultivating, putting the seed in and letting it grow, and how in this whole field where they're doing the wrapper, they're tying them up, and how it's only touched by hand. And then it goes in and it's fermented and it's laid down and it's dried and it goes in, and all these different processes that it goes through before it comes to you. All right. And then after you smoke it, after you've been through that process and you know what's happened, you really appreciate it. It's not a cigarette. It's not something where a combine harvester's got a whole of tobacco leaves and it's thrown it through this mechanical process. This is all done by hand with very little machinery. It's done, and it's done with love. You know, I don't know as much about Nicaragua, but I do know that the people out there, the passion that goes into the rolling out there, is incredible. Like the passion that goes into Cuba. These people, it's their life. Making sure they get the best cigars, and the best leaf, and they put they're all into it. And once you understand that, and understand how it's made, your appreciation for the leaf is fantastic. And we do an online seminar. We've just started that, but we do cigar training at the store. And I don't know if anyone knows Ana Lopez from Hunters, but she was the one, she was head of marketing in Habanos. And she comes and does it for us, either her or Magali. And I don't think I know enough to actually do it myself, of how that cigar, and I'm pretty active in the world of cigars, but I don't think I know enough to actually give it the justification of how that is. And we charge, I think, $150 for a session, but we give $120 worth of cigars, food and drink on top, and a book to go away with. Online, we do it for £75, and we give £105 worth of cigars at retail. So we're doing it as an education to people, not as a profit centre. And the whole rationale behind that is that we want people to learn and know about the process and what happens and why that thing comes out, tastes so bloody good. It's because people have really, really put a lot of time and effort into it. And it's not like buying a bottle of whiskey that comes out of a factory of 100,000 bottles. Real love's gone into that.
Nick Hammond. Nick, first of all, I would like to thank you so much for making tonight's show happen, for connecting us, and for everything that you do. We also had a question. Please raise it, and many thanks for tuning in.
Yes, thank you, Reinhard. Yeah, well, what a joy to see you all and be part of this amazing event. I'm just so pleased that I've managed to let you guys in just on a little window of the Laurence Davis that I've grown to know and love, because he is an amazing person, and he's quite unlike anyone I've ever met before. And you know, he's one of those guys, he doesn't suffer fools gladly. So at first you might think he's a bit of an abrasive character, and I think people, and I know I personally, you know, was a bit wary because I'm not that sort of person, and we're quite different people in many ways. But when I got to know Lawrence, I realised that you know, the sort of guy he is, and I can honestly tell you, he's one of the relationship that we've built and the fact that we've been able to enjoy so much fun on the YouTube and whatever, and we phone each other daily now, and that relationship is one of the most precious to me in my life now. So I'd like to thank Laurence for that and all his help. And in fact, as an example, you know, during this lockdown time, It's been difficult for everybody, and we all have our crosses to bear. Laurence has tackled it, head on, as he does all things in a positive manner. And he's the one person in the whole industry that has rung me, if not daily, nearly daily, and said, "How are you doing? Do you need some money? How are you?" sort of thing. And I'm in that category of people that falls between the gaps. There's no government help for people like me. So I haven't been furloughed. I haven't been able to secure a grant or get any money. So, just to have someone who thinks like Laurence does is an absolute blessing. And he genuinely does think about other people. So thank you for that, Laurence. But what I'd like to ask you, and I've learned some stuff tonight, which is brilliant. I knew you'd be great, which is why it was such a joy to work with Reinhard to get you on here. If you could change one thing about the cigar industry, what would it be?
The one thing that well, there's two things. One is the attitude of government to smoking cigars. That we go around as we're a colony of lepers. I was on the beach in America on a lot of occasions because they wouldn't let me round the pool, because there was a woman 100 yards away who complained. So that was people's attitudes to it. But if I could change one thing, I would like it to have less tax on it so that people could enjoy it at a much more sensible price. So I'll give you an example, that the Ramalone is £23 in a London shop, and it's £4 in a Cuban shop.
Yeah.
All right. So there's import duty, there's VAT, there's duty, there's all kinds of different taxes that come onto it. And it really freezes a lot of people who would like to smoke more often that just can't afford it. And they end up not being able to enjoy things because of that. And it's really fundamentally unfair, all right? Because if you take a bottle of wine, all right, a bottle of cheap plonk from wherever it is in the world has a £2 duty coming into the UK. But so does a Chateau Mouton Rothschild have £2 duty. And I think it's unfair that even at the lower end of cigars, that they're not taxed on a price point, so that at least people, if they wanted to smoke, a Nicaraguan cigar that wasn't as expensive as a Cuban cigar, they still end up paying tax based on weight and VAT and duty that makes, I just think it's unfair. And I think, it's done because they're too lazy to actually get into cigars. They do it on weight because that's what they do for cigarettes. But they don't actually think about it in the same manner. So that's what I would change.
Yeah, it's a good point. And that also leads to that assumption that if you smoke a cigar, you must be a fat cat or a rich guy or someone who's trying to prove something. And that would change that immediately, because in America you can buy a good stick for $3 or $4, right? So it's a more of a everyman thing, isn't it?
Look, there's people on here tonight who haven't got the money to smoke all the great cigars of the world. All right. There's some guys on Instagram that come on that are real enthusiasts, but they can't afford to smoke, and that's why I do a budget line. I find things that I can sell to everybody, because I just think that it's an enjoyment that people like to share, and then they can go up to the White Churchills on a special occasion. But in the meantime, they can smoke cheaper smokes, and that's one of the things that I hope, by bringing the Nicaraguans in with Scott and the Dominicans, that we can actually get some better price points out to people. And we're going to be doing that online. We would have been online now, but lockdown has just been a bit difficult to get everything together. But we'll have them there for everybody very soon.
Brilliant. Yeah, thanks, mate. And thank you, Reinhard, again for another brilliant session. Yeah.
Can I just say one very quick thing?
Sure.
I don't know how many of you know Nick Hammond. But if you get a chance to read his book, it is absolutely phenomenal.
Bless you.
All right. I think it is one of the best and funniest reads. All right. It's one of the only books I've read 3 or 4 times because you can read a couple of chapters, and my favorite is Mr. Moustache. Right. And you can go back to it and read it, and it's great fun. And just one message to him: pull your finger out and get volume 2 going.
Okay, mate, I'll work on it.
Nick,
a great pleasure to be with you tonight.
Yeah, always. And thank you, Reinhard. Your sessions are fantastic. You worked so hard to do it. You, Reinhard, and the Cigar Journal team. And you've really given us a brilliant new outlet. And I'm delighted that it's going to carry on, and hope to join you many more times. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'll see you definitely at your next session. I'll be on as a viewer.
That means so much to me, and I can't thank you both enough for everything that you bring to the cigar industry. And Nick, I can only second the thought that your book is such a brilliant read. And as you know, I've got quite a few of them here because it's my favorite gift to people that I like to present them with. And many thanks for your kind support with connecting us and bringing us together, like we try to bring people together from all over the world. And exactly what Mr. Davis was sharing all night, that it's about.
I'm Laurence, by the way. I'm not a mister. I'm Laurence. I'm just an ordinary bloke. All right. But any of you, whenever you're in town, all right, just pop in and have a smoke with me. Please, including you, Mr. Vines.
And Laurence, we have to bring in a couple of comments from Facebook. Figo picked up quite a few of them because there were people who came to London and did exactly that and just came in and shared and enjoyed a smoke with you. Figo, fire away.
Laurence, I just wanted to just kind of pop in and give you a little feedback from Facebook. There's a gentleman, a very good friend of mine, Peter Zhekov. He works at a hotel, and he basically refers everybody to your shop. So our hat goes off to him for supporting your shop. Also, a gentleman, another good friend, Mike Toss, said he visited your shop about 8 years ago, and you know, the outstanding hospitality you were able to give him, and you know, your mind for tobacco itself was, he found it to be completely outstanding. So he said his hat goes off to you. Truly appreciated the time he was able to spend with you.
We also serve very good coffee on the house.
That's awesome. But yeah, so Laurence was such a great guy and awesome storyteller.
Well, I've been around a bit. I've got some good stories to tell.
I hear that. Thanks, brother. I just wanted to bring those two up.
Absolute pleasure. Laurence, since Sautter is also well known for the whole culture around cigars, besides the wonderful smokes, but lifestyle is quite of an overused term these days, yet it perfectly nails down and brings to the point what we're thinking of when considering, you know, all the accessories, the drinks that come with cigars. Well, how would you for yourself define cigar lifestyle in that way?
We make a lot of our own accessories. So we make a lot of our own ashtrays from crate ashtrays, the metal ones we do, and the flip-flops. But we also make a lot of humidors. So I've got about 150 humidors, ranging from old Louis Vuitton trunks that we convert to my latest and greatest and probably maddest idea is that I've got this unbelievable artisan, his name's Ken Taylor, retired member of the Royal Marines and the Royal Navy. And I bought at auction a baby grand piano. So we stripped out the front where the keys are and we turned it into 32 slots for cigars. We stripped out the middle where all the heavy metal work was, all right? And we turned that into a bar. And then the big round end of a baby grand is now cigar storage for 32 boxes. All right? And that's about to be delivered. I don't know where I'm going to put it because it's as big as my shop almost. But it will be probably either at Holland and Holland, or I have some of my furniture and humid trunks in Asling, the bookshop. You know, the people who did the Impossible Book of Cigars. So that's some of the crazy things I'm working on. I also am converting some ammunition trunks into cigar boxes and all different kinds of weird and wonderful things. You know, old wine holders into humidors. Because it happens to be that us male smokers, no offense to you lovely ladies out there, but us male smokers tend to have what is quite a boring looking humidor that is a bit of an eyesore in certain situations. So for the men who are challenged by their wives into what they can have in their living room, we've got some pieces that will fit in. We've got contemporary, we've got some historic pieces, and we keep making those to try and get everything in the lifestyle going. And we do slippers, we do shirts. I'm not wearing one of my shirts tonight, but I do Primavera. We do all the lighters, we've got matches, we've got all kinds of different lifestyle things just to go with what the cigar world is all about. It's all about being at home with yourself as well as your cigar.
Have you seen any particular changes in that cigar lifestyle over the decades, and also in the way that the people who come to Sautter Cigars appreciate and enjoy cigars?
I have. I've seen an appreciation now for bigger sticks. People want to smoke larger ring gauges. There's more of an appreciation of pairing cigars with drinks. That's become a very hot topic, whether it be a cocktail, whether it be a wine, whether it be a champagne, whether it be a whiskey or a brandy. You know, they like, or even a beer. They like to have certain cigars for what they drink. And that's one of the things that I've been working on. But if you look at, I don't know if any of you have been to the Corinthian hotel in London, but there's a great hotel, fabulous lounge, an amazing sommelier there called Adam, right, who's just the salt of the earth, a fabulous guy. He, you know, the camaraderie you get in that smoking lounge is something that you're seeing more and more, that people are going and they're taking the cigar world not just into buying cigars, but actually enjoying it as a form of entertainment. And that's what's changed. People are coming in, and I know this sounds really weird, but I prefer someone to come and sit with me and have a cigar than actually come in and just buy a box and leave. It's a weird one, but and it's part. And when they do come and enjoy with you, it's not about selling them the box of cigars. It's about understanding their enjoyment of the cigars and making sure that what you find them is what they want. All right. There's no point in giving someone, you know, I get lots of people coming in and saying, oh, I should be smoking, all right? I should really be smoking Cohiba because all my friends say it's the best cigar in the world. Well, get a grip, all right? Because the best cigar in the world is the one you like, all right? And then I've got lots of friends of mine that like Fundadoras, which is a very thin cigar, all right? And others, I know I can't smoke that, it's too thin for me. So it's what is your personal preference, is what you like. I mean, I now have a little cigar that's quite cheap, which is an open regatta in the mornings, my breakfast cigar, all right? And that's a pretty cheap cigar, but I love that for my early morning cup of coffee and smoke. That's a great smoke. So it's all about what you like and what your lifestyle around it is.
Would you also say that the media landscape in the cigar industry has changed over that same period of time? And
it's really changed in the last 8 weeks, Reinhard. Your shows and my Instagram shows brought a lot of people together to talk about cigars in a way that they wouldn't. A lot of people are stuck at home, aren't being able to see their mates, but they can on Zoom and they can on Instagram, and they can smoke with their friends and have a chat, and it's changed. It's been a whole new dimension, and that's brilliant.
Wonderful point. Thank you.
I had a smoke with an 87-year-old customer of mine the other day. He phoned me up and he said, "Have you got time to FaceTime with me, because I haven't seen anyone in 12 weeks?" And I said to him, "I'll send a car for you. We're opening on Monday. You can't smoke in the shop, but I'll make an exception in your case." And Monday he was there, and Harry had the most fantastic time.
Brilliant.
You know, and that's what it's about. You know, and I thank you for bringing so many people together to you know, to just have more adventures in the world of cigars when they can't get out. And probably don't want to watch a repeat of what's been on television 600 times before. You know, it gives them a reason to actually get on and converse.
Absolutely. Aldo, let me bring you in for another question. It's great to see you. Smoking Moses. By the way, Laurence, this is another amazing YouTube channel. Aldo just started his YouTube journey. I mean, he's very active with Smoking Moses over on Instagram, but a great new YouTube channel. So big shout out to you, Aldo.
Thank you, Rainy. Thank you. So I have a question. It's not really a question. I have a shop here in Venice, a shop focused on cigars. So we are somehow, I don't want to be colleague, but at least we do more or less the same job. We stay a lot of time in the same kind of shop. So I always think about how many funny episodes I see inside my shop with smokers. So I have a few things that happen in my shop that makes me laugh every time I think about them. Do you remember something particular, something that makes you laugh for hours after a customer entering your shop, or some questions, or I don't know, something that happened to remember that was really funny in this let's say business? For example, I tell you two of mine, and they were super funny. A guy entering and asking for a Fonseca. I give him the cigar. He went out, and then after a few minutes, he came back running, complaining because the cigar was completely burning. He smoked without putting out the paper. Or guys that asked to divide in the half a Partagas D4 because they were in two and they want to share the smoke with the cigar cut in the middle. Or, well, I have a lot of episodes like this. Do you have something like this in your, for sure, I know that you see thousands of people more than me, so probably yes.
I've got a female customer who comes into the store and she smokes cigars. And she's a very famous Hollywood star, so I can't mention her name. And the first day she came in, she put the cigar down and was talking. And she's trying to light it. So first time. And she can't light it. Whatever she does, she can't light it. And I said to her, and her first letter is J. I said, "Jay, you have to cut it." She said, "Do you?" "I don't cut my cigarettes." I said, "No, you've got to cut it." So she cut the end, started smoking, fired it up, put it down, carries on talking. I give her a coffee. She goes around, she picks it up, and she puts the lit end in her mouth. Well, I didn't want to say anything, but I started to laugh, and I'm crying at this point. I'm rolling around crying, and I don't know how to explain to her that I wasn't really being rude, but it was a funny thing. Another funny thing that happened a lot is we had this customer, the Baron. And the Baron used to come in every day and he used to smoke a box of cigars every day. And he was staying at the Connaught Hotel. And I thought, I've got to follow this guy. I've got to find out how someone can go through a box of cigars in a day. This is incredible. Right? So there used to be the general manager of the Connaught was a guy called Max. I said to Max, you have to introduce me and take me up to the suite of the Baron. So I go up to the suite of the Baron and I see this ashtray, and there is only that much of the cigar smoked. And the Baron used to lighting the cigar and just smoking the first bit, and then discard it. So I said, Baron, can you do me a favor? So he said, what's that? I said, could I have a job just collecting your ends and smoking the rest of your cigars? And it was a box of D4s. They were a favorite of mine. It was early days. It was probably 2007. All right. And, you know, you're at the Connaught for 6 weeks. That's, you know, that's a hell of a lot of inventory I could go through. And we just had such a laugh together. You know, you wouldn't imagine, you know, I'm not talking about an inch. I'm talking about probably 4 puffs of the cigar, and then he'd put it out and start another one. And I said to him, what is it? We'd start doing. He said, I just love cutting them, and I love the ritual of lighting them, but I don't actually really enjoy smoking them. You know, so you get some great, interesting stories. All right. I didn't manage to collect all his ends, but you know, one could make you know, a box of D4s is probably £600 now. You could actually make a living out of just going around and just collecting his ends. And one of the interesting things, I don't know if any of you smoke a pipe, or any of you have smoked a pipe. You get to the end of a cigar, and you've got some absolutely fantastic tobacco that isn't enough to really put in your mouth. If you crush it up and just mix it with your favorite pipe tobacco, and you mix it up, you can create your own blend, all right, and actually enjoy the cigar right to the end, and almost free of charge. And it's great. I mean, I haven't got the patience to actually sit and smoke pipes. But one of my guys, Michael, who's actually been with Desmond since day one, he started working for Desmond in 1956 when Desmond opened his first shop in Piccadilly. He actually makes up a pipe for me when I'm in there with him, and I go in the back and smoke the ends of my cigars. And it's a fabulous, fabulous thing. So there are a few little stories out there.
I mean, these stories and these legends of yore, are they still sort of an inspiration for you when you go to work every day, and an inspiration for how you run your business?
Yeah, I enjoy every day of my business. Unfortunately, some days are better than others, and it would be really nice if we could have some days where we could greet and meet people a lot more than at the moment, when we're just having to sort of catch them on the off chance. But I must say, every day is a good day in the cigar shop. Right, you meet your friends, you sit down, you talk, and you talk about things that you want to talk about. And we have great political banter. You know, I have some great Trump supporters as friends. I have some great Democratic friends from America, and the cigar shop is a great place where they can have a mutually bombastic fight with each other about politics. And at the end of the day, they leave having smoked a cigar and enjoyed themselves, and are not really decided to kill each other because the cigar was too good.
You know, a couple of times on the show, we had people who actually said, you know, if we could all sit down together, share a cigar, and share a great conversation, most of the problems of today's world could be solved very easily.
Let me tell you, I'm Jewish. I've had some of my best smokes in Dubai and in Marrakesh with some of the most lovely people in the world. All right. There's a guy, you know, I've smoked with the Al-Tahanis. I smoked two of my best friends from Kuwait. All right. I've got great friends from America. We have friends from everywhere over the world. The most unifying thing is over a cigar. I don't know if you saw on Instagram, but the first photograph I put up the other day was of the boxer Derek Chisora. Just, because I wanted to show our solidarity for anybody who feels inequality. I'm the first person to support inequality. Because I'll even have a cigar with Nick Hammond. And he's been isolated in his little hamlet in Northamptonshire, hasn't left the village, in 12 weeks, and he's going to venture down to London one day next week because we're going to do a YouTube video together in the back of a taxi. Danny, a famous cab driver who smokes cigars, is going to host us in the back of his cab driving around London. No, but it is a great equaliser. And everybody in the cigar world, whoever you are, I'll tell you a funny story, actually, a last one, because I'm probably boring everybody. But one day I turn up to my shop early one morning and there's this guy in a chef's outfit that's just come out of a kitchen, and he's waiting for me and he says, I'd like to come and buy a cigar. So I said, sure, come in, sit down. My name's Laurence, and my name's John. And he said, would you like me to go and get changed before I come in? So I said, no, do me a favor. You've been in the kitchen. Anyway, John and I struck up a great friendship. His name is John Cadeau. He's one of the best meat chefs I've ever come across. He started Cuban's in London and Burger Lobster, and is one of the great chefs around. And he said, I've been thrown out of 3 cigar shops in London because I wasn't dressed properly. So I said, we only have one stipulation about dress code in Sauter's. You've got to be wearing something around the middle, because we don't want to get arrested. Apart from that, you can. And there's some great people, there's some great places to smoke. The only way you'd ever get thrown out of Boisdale's, and I don't know if any of you've been to Boisdale's, but it's a great place to smoke on the terrace there. I said to Reinhard one day at 3 o'clock in the morning, I said, have you ever slung anybody out here? He said, no, he says, people come in here, they take drugs. They sometimes bring in their own booze, he says. And I haven't got a problem with all of that. The only thing I don't like is when they try and leave without paying the bill. And that, that's the beauty of the cigar industry, And go to Boisdale's in Mayfair and have a cigar there with Rano. He's a great raconteur. It's a great place to smoke. Nick's, just out of interest, is writing a book which I'm helping him with, which is called 100 Great Places to Smoke. So if you've got any ideas or you want to get in the book, Nick Hammond's your man. And I'm helping him sponsor and put it through.
Great to hear. That's beautiful insight. Many thanks. Actually, before we slowly wrap things off with this wonderful session here, speaking of connecting people and having amazing people on the show, I just wanted to briefly let you know that we still got some super exciting sessions this week. Tomorrow we'll do a little sensory special feature with Franca Comparetto from Cigar Sense, so she will be on the show. We're doing
Reinhard, are you still there?
I think he froze.
Froze. Put some money in the meter. Reinhard, if you can hear me, if there is anybody that you want from anywhere from our world of cigars, we'd be delighted to introduce you or get them on for you.
I'll make sure he gets a message. No worries.
Okay. whilst we're waiting for him to come back.
Yeah, I just sent him a message. He'll be back in a minute.
Okay. There is one other thing I'd like to say that that is worth doing. Right? It's really an unbelievable thing to actually go when you go, if you ever get the chance to go to Cuba, right, is to actually go out into the countryside and meet some of the people around the cigar world, which is what I hope to do in Nicaragua and in the Dominican Republic. If you ever get that chance, all right, and meet and talk with some of these guys that have been in this thing for 50, 60 years, all right, and some of the rollers, there's one roller who is very dear to me. She's probably the queen of cigar rolling in the whole of Cuba. Her name's Yolanda. All right, Yolanda was the roller at Laguito factory. She was the one who introduced all the cohibas and actually rolled for Castro herself. And one of the most beautiful women I've ever met. She just exudes so much in the world. Nick's met her with me, and she, you know, she takes you into her house. She rolls for you. She smokes with you, and she just tells some great stories.
That's awesome.
And it's just great to have that opportunity. And if you're ever in Cuba and need some help, we'll hook you up.
That's awesome. I think we got Reinhard back on audio. Reinhard, can you hear us?
Yes, I do. I do sincerely apologize. This certainly has never happened before, but we have a total blackout here in the entire streets. Everything just went dark, and I sort of reconnected with my phone now. It's super dark, so you won't see me anyways. But apologies. That is a first for sure.
Definitely.
So you are keeping the show running smoothly and perfectly, I assume. Sorry, I was cut off before, but I'm still glad to see you all here and super happy to know you're still on the call, everybody.
Most definitely.
Not even a blackout won't stop us.
Yeah, nothing.
Excellent.
So I think I was just cut off when I wanted to introduce you to the schedule for the week. So tomorrow, as I said, we have Cigar Sense with Franca Comparetto. Friday is Ian Wright from Dapper Cigars. And then we have Robert Caldwell on Sunday to finish off the week. So please make sure that you tune in again, and please be our guest either tomorrow, Friday, or Sunday. It will be a pleasure to have you all. But this has been such an amazing evening, and I mean, all these wonderful stories that Laurence was sharing with us is just impeccable. I think you all agree, but this has been amazing.
Reinhard, one last thing. As you were getting cut off, you were talking about the sensory episode for tomorrow.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's going to be a sensory special feature with Franca. She'll give us a little an insight into Cigar Sense and all the work they were doing, and we can certainly delve more into creating holistic cigar experiences and the wonders of perception and how to embrace and enjoy cigars. So looking forward to that.
Thank you, brother.
Great. Thank you very much for having me on, and I look forward to listening to your shows as often as I can.
Laurence, it was such a pleasure and honor, and many thanks for all the wonderful words that you shared with us tonight. I would like to ask you one final question before we wrap things off.
Of course.
You know, with all the people that come to Sautter Cigars and pop into one of your shops in London, and with everything that you've built within this industry, what would be your wish for the legacy that you bring to the cigar industry, and that people will always remember about Sautter and everything that you do?
That people enjoy themselves smoking. That they smoke for pleasure, and they really enjoy what they smoke, and they don't smoke for vanity. I had a customer in a few weeks ago from Russia, and he told me what he liked, and I said, do this. He said, yeah, but they're not Cohiba. I only want to buy the Talisman or the Bahiki. All right. So I said, why? I said, so because my friends think that they're the most expensive. And it's not about the money. It's about the taste. It's about your personal taste. All right. And believe me, I'm enjoying this Ramalonis as much as I'd enjoy anything. It's £23. I enjoyed yesterday the Regatta, which is £16. And sometimes I fire up a D6, which is an £18 smoke. In the UK, and I fired it up. I had a short car journey, about 15-20 minutes, and I just wanted a really good smoke. And it's all about enjoying what you like, not about, you're not wearing a Patek on your wrist when you're smoking. You're enjoying what you're smoking. You should smoke what you like, and don't get people come in and they have this fixation about price. And I want the most expensive, and I want the best. All right. Well, the best is what is best taste for you. It's not what is the best taste for somebody else. All right. And that is one of the great idiosyncratic things of the industry that we're in. It's about personal taste. All right. And someone said to me the other day, I'm smoking this cigar, and I really love it. And it's a Nicaraguan cigar. And one of the guys said, and it's under £10. And one of the guys who was sitting with a socially distanced, he said, well, very English from Joe. He said, how could you smoke a cigar that's under £10? And I said, because he really enjoys it. All right. And the essence is that you should smoke what you enjoy, all right, not what you want to be seen to smoke. All right.
That's
except cigarettes. I'm not a big proponent of smoking cigarettes. But.
Laurence Davis, thank you so much for all your wonderful thoughts. Thank you so much for being part of Light 'em Up.
Guys, it's really been great having the opportunity to talk to you. I'm going to sign off because I'm about to actually, I've got to have a call with Los Angeles on a business matter. And I'm a little bit late, so I'm going to go. But thank you all so very, very much, and I'll speak to you all soon. Especially to Nico, to Kelly, to Nick, to Scott.
Thank you, Lauren.
Friends on there, Jack, Christopher, and to all my new friends, Ian, Figo, Aldo, Marwan, Ruben, Sam, Charlie, Robert, Zlot, is that? And Ray. And of course you, Reinhard. It's been a pleasure meeting you and an absolute delight to have this conversation. I'll speak to you all soon. Thank you.
Many thanks. All the very best. Be safe. Talk to you soon.
Stay safe. Bye.
See you next time I'm in London.
Cheers. See you all soon.